Hi, I'm Dr. Diane Duckett, and welcome to another episode of Becoming You. This podcast is to help assist you in becoming a better, successful you in life and in business. I am delighted to share with you today on just that. We know that becoming a better you takes work. In fact, it takes a lot of work that we sometimes really don't want to do on ourselves. Today, I want to talk about when life sends interruptions. When life sends interruptions. Yes, I want to talk about today when life sends interruptions. When life sends interruptions. There's a quote from the collected works of C.S. Lewis. It states, "The great thing, if one can, is to stop regarding all the unpleasant things as interruptions of one's own or real life. The truth is, of course, that what one calls the interruptions are precisely one's real life, the life God is sending one day by day. What one calls one's real life is of one's imagination. Please do not disturb is a sign we put on our doors because we don't want to be interrupted. We'll set our phones on please do not disturb. How many of you can attest to that? You know, we'll put our phones on please do not disturb because we don't want to be disturbed. We put our phones on please do not disturb to get rest or to accomplish or finish a task or an assignment that may be due the next day. Some have please do not disturb written on their whole body. It's their body language that says, please do not disturb. Their facial expression, the way they stand, will tell you if they do not want to be disturbed. Even businesses will bring about a please do not disturb sign and put it on the door. Please do not disturb me while I'm doing this or doing that. Life has a way of disturbing you even when you are not looking for it to happen. Personal story, I was in church one Sunday morning teaching a class. This class was intimacy with Christ. And as I was teaching this class without giving much details, the Holy Spirit spoke to me in the midst of the class and told me something happened. I did not want to accept what the Holy Spirit was sharing with me, but when I began to see the very thing that I did not want to accept, it began to bring upon my life an interruption that would last for several seasons, not just a season, but several seasons. And this interruption kept me from being great. It kept me from becoming, my full self. It just kept me from, really participating in the will of God, the work of the will of God for my life. And so it just kept me from just being who I was truly created to be. I would wake up and not want to really participate in the things of the world, or not just the world, but the things of church. Let me just say church. And now, when I would wake up, I felt sad. I felt angry. I would be crying all the time, wondering what just happened. Ministry was flourishing. People were being saved. I was in the midst of completing my dissertation at the time, but yet this interruption kept me from being great, kept me from becoming my true self within myself. I couldn't perform the way I needed to perform to continue thriving in ministry because my mind, the enemy, had done so well interrupting my life that I could no longer focus on the assignment given to me by God. It took all the strength I had to get up and do what I was called to do. I just wanted to stay in bed and never get up. I just wanted to lay there and dwell in the fact that the enemy came in and wreaked havoc in my life. The enemy took my joy, took my happiness, and in that moment, I felt alone, needing God to come and fix this interruption. The enemy's assignment was to put me in a place of sadness, loneliness, and hopelessness. I never imagined I would be faced with such a challenge and interruption. I've had many interruptions in my life that hurt me to the core, but never would have thought I would have an interruption such as the one I was experiencing. I was always telling people to be great today, but for me, it was hard to do because every time I thought about the interruption, I would become numb and sad all over again, still in disbelief. How would I get past this? How would I think differently about the interruption? How would I do this? How would I, how would I think differently about the interruption? The interruption, I believe, are not for the faint at heart, but for those who will endure the interruption. You see, sometimes I believe that, when an interruption is entering into your life for a season or for seasons, I believe it's coming, that interruption is coming in to teach you something, to teach you something about yourself. And I believe that God is like waking you up to that interruption so that you can see yourself in that interruption, because how else are we going to become ourselves, our full selves, if we never have any interruptions? Because see, these interruptions come in and they show us things about, ourselves, and they show us, the lessons that we need to learn. They show us how to push through. They show us how to become that warrior within ourselves. It shows us how to even get closer, to God. So when interruptions come, sometimes interruptions come with a purpose. How do you endure interruption? Enduring interruption requires one to walk in faith and not in fear. Walking in faith means trusting the process, trusting that God will see you through every situation, because the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Psalms 27. And this psalm blessed my soul because although the interruption tried to destroy me, make me quiet and give up, the psalm reminded me to remain confident in this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord. So no matter what the enemy tried to do to me, the enemy did not win and cannot win, because I believe that the promises of God is true. When the Bible tells us that the Lord will fight for you, all you need to do is to be still, to be still, to be calm, and to wait patiently on the Lord. I have to think positive and know that God will see me through. You see, I was not going to allow the interruption to break me. If anything, I was going to break the interruption. The interruption would get me on some days, but other days I was messing with the interruption. And thus you must have confidence knowing that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And therefore, to endure interruptions, you must give yourself some thought therapy for freeing your mind and healing those hard places that the interruption brought into your life. I'm going to go back for a minute because when I said that the interruption would get me on some days, but other days I would mess with the interruption. You see, sometimes when you mess with the interruption, it will cause even more damage or more hurt or more pain because you're, messing with the interruption yourself and not allowing that interruption, to shape you and mold you into the likeness of God, and to show you how this interruption is going to, allow you to become, yourself. And so because I was messing with the interruption was literally messing back with me, so I'm messing with the interruption, but the interruption is messing back with me, just really messing things up. And it's because I was trying to, solve things, with my own strength, with my own strength. And you have to let go of your own strength and let God be the strength, and let God be who he needs to be during that time of your interruption. Because in that interruption, there are things that you have to learn. There are things that you have to understand, for you to fully become yourself. And so, you must have confidence knowing that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And therefore, to endure interruptions, you must give yourself some thought therapy, as I said before, for freeing your mind and healing those hard places that the interruption brought into your life. And most of you are probably asking the question, what is thought therapy? I never heard of thought therapy before. Thought therapy is a new way of thinking, right? A way to cultivate the mind with new thinking patterns. See, our thought, is thought pattern, is what gets us, deep down into something, into that interruption or into that thing or into that place or into that space where your mind, is continue to pull you down, pull you down. It's just pulling you down because of the thoughts and the thinking that you're having, about the interruption. But when we talk about thought therapy, you have to begin to have a new way of thinking about the interruption. Don't always think negatively about the interruption, because it is what it is, right? But now you have to put yourself in a space where, it's gonna, it's gonna serve you, right? It's gonna serve you, and it's gonna bring about you some differences for yourself. Because like I said before, how can you understand yourself if there is no interruption? How can you go into a new way of thinking if there are no problems, if there's no situations and stuff that you're in? And so we have to begin to allow ourselves to have new ways of thinking so that we can cultivate our mind with new thinking patterns. You see, the mind is like a muscle that must be mentally worked on. See, we got to work on our minds every single day on a daily basis. Like any muscle, like when we go out there and work out in the gym, we're working on, building muscle. Well, some are working on building muscles. I typically don't want to build no muscles, because I'm good the way that I am. But, you have men that will go out there, and build themselves up because they're building their muscles. And yes, you do have females that want to build muscles, but they don't want to look like, a man version of building their muscles. I get that. But our mind is like a muscle that must be mentally worked on. And see, the brain responds like a muscle, like muscles do, growing with use and withering with inactivity. So, if you're not, thinking in new ways, right? If you're not thinking in new ways, right, basically your brain is inactive. Right? It has no activity because you are always continue to think of the negative, that's causing you to be the way that you are, in the time and to be the way that you are, so that you can't, think of new ways and positive ways to think about, your situation. Right? And so we have to build the muscle by allowing ourselves to have this new thinking, so that our brains can go stronger, and our brains can go stronger, and that we can, basically build ourselves up, and encourage ourselves, because of this brand new thinking, that we're allowing to enter into, our space, our bodies, our mind. And so you can't allow the negative to keep your brain inactive, but you got to allow the positive to reactivate those muscles in your brain so that you can begin to think positive about your situation. Even though the interruption may have interrupted you, guess what? You can change the narrative, because what they say, as a man thinketh, so is he. It's like you are the one who creates your reality through your thinking. And if you do not change your thinking, your reality is going to be what it is, that you are thinking. So even if it's a negative thing, even if it's, I can't get out of this rut, I can't do this or I can't do that. Guess what? Your reality is you can't get out that rut, and you can't do whatever it is that you want to do. But when you change the narrative and begin to say, things like I'm always using affirmations, I am enough. I am, fearfully and wonderfully made, all your little affirmations, those are the things that's going to build you up, as well as enlighten you on who you are as an individual. You see, we cannot always, depend on or place, ourselves in others' hands, because guess what? They don't know, what God is trying to do in our lives to help us to become, ourselves, to become who God has truly created us to become. And so we have to get to the point where, we allow this thought therapy to change the narrative of what our life now looks like today. And so if you're in that position where you are, feeling low, feeling down, and you don't think that, things are going to work out for you, guess what? Get some thought therapy and begin to have some new thinking, some new ways of thinking, so that you can begin to build yourself up. Here's another story I have for you. I remember being on a journey of losing weight. I wanted to lose at least 20 pounds. So I decided to sign up for a 6-week, what is it called? A 6-week challenge, weight loss challenge. And, it was a 20-pound challenge at a local gym that I had, that I was attending. And so this was no ordinary gym. It had no treadmills. It had no ellipticals. It had no Stairmaster. It had no bikes. In fact, it was an empty gym with hand weights, medicine balls, ropes, gliders, bands, and all sorts of stuff you would never use at a regular gym. And so the cost was around about $400. And I know you are saying that's a lot of money for a 6-week challenge, but but you see, even though I paid that $400, if I lost the weight, because it's a 6-week challenge, if I lost the 20 pounds, guess what? They gave me my $400 back, because, I did everything that I was supposed to do to get that $400 back. And of course, yes, I did lose that 20 pounds, because I wanted my $400 back. So I had to do some thought therapy. I had to think, in new ways, so that I can get my money back. So I had to challenge myself each and every single day to wake up at 5:15 in the morning, to get into that gym at 5:45. I was in the gym Monday through Friday, because I wanted to get my $400 back. So the challenge required me to work out five days a week, to check in on Facebook for accountability, and follow the required meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for best results. So here goes the challenge. I got up every morning, like I said, to get there, to get to the gym, so that I could hold myself, be accountable to the process, as well as, try to, get my money back, right? So this took some getting used to. So I had to prepare my mind, thought therapy, to achieve the results of losing that 20 pounds. And although I was tired the first week of the challenge, I lost my first 3 pounds, excited about the 3 pounds. I now was pumped and excited about going to the gym. So I disciplined myself. I committed myself and invited others to join me. And at the end of the 6-week challenge, I weighed in and I had lost actually 21.7 pounds. Yes. And I got my $400 back, which I gave back to participate in another 6-week challenge to lose another 20 pounds. The second challenge, I lost like 13 pounds, but I felt like I was on top of the world because, I was getting the results that I wanted and how I wanted to look and feel for myself. And so I had to put myself in a thought therapy pattern with my mind to think of new things. Like I had to literally picture myself, what I wanted to look like and how I wanted to feel for me to actually gain the results that I was looking for. So I had to think differently about the results I wanted to see. And of course, winning my money back was what made the difference. But that did not last long because when the interruption came, right? When the interruption came, I lost my momentum. Come on. I lost my momentum to continue being the best me I could be. I lost my momentum to be, continue to be the best version of myself. I lost my momentum to continue to be, who God was allowing me to become, right? And so I gained my weight back and I was really mad about what the interruption had done. Interruptions will do some crazy stuff, right? Interruptions, will have you, stressed out, depressed, overeating, just doing all kinds of stuff, right? And so that's what the interruption did. The interruption, and I wasn't even eating a lot, like really. I think it was just the stress that I was dealing with and the depression, and the hurt and the anger that I was dealing with was bringing on the weight because I barely was eating. But the weight was coming on, and I think I'm just the opposite. Some people, they'll eat a lot and gain weight. For me, stress gives me weight. So if I'm becoming overweight, it's because I'm probably stressed out. So all the work I had put in to get the results of losing the weight, it now was back and I had to start all over again. But this time when I started again, it was harder for me to lose the weight. Why? Because this interruption was in my mind. This interruption, still was here. It was still with me. And so I did not have the same momentum that I had the first time, when I took the first 6 weeks, 20-pound challenge. So, however, I saw in my working out this time, I was working out to beat off the stress and the negative thoughts. So this is what I'm talking about, thought therapy, because I wasn't when I was returning back to go to the gym. It wasn't about me losing the weight now. Come on. It wasn't about me losing the weight, but it was about me beating off the stress and the negative thoughts that I was having, right? Trying to clear my mind of every distraction, right? Every setback, every side effect the interruption had brought on me. I would feel refreshed after the workout because I was able to relieve, that stress. I was able to relieve those negative thoughts. I was able to clear out of my mind every distraction that was trying to take over my mind, every setback that was trying to, take me out. Like I had to do this for myself and to work out. I wasn't even going to work out to lose weight, but I was going for a different reason. I was going for thought therapy. I was going to refresh my mind. They say when you work out, you release some of these endorphins or whatever that you have, within your body. And when that's released, you're getting rid of toxins and stuff like that. And I believe that's what was happening, with me. I was getting rid of all this toxin, and the thing about it is it would last for, a moment. And that's why I would have to go to the gym over again, to really, have the thought therapy that I needed during that time. And I noticed when I stopped going to the gym, my mind began to ponder on things that had happened. So because, when I thought I was good, I don't need to go to the gym anymore because my thought therapy did me some good, right? But when I stopped going, I noticed when I stopped going to the gym, my mind began to ponder on things that had happened. I went through this negative thought pattern for quite some time until one day I began again and went back to the gym, and I felt great, energized and focused. So I noticed a pattern. If I went to the gym, my mind did not hassle or control me with negative thoughts. When I did not go to the gym, my mind would bring on the negative thoughts and give me the replay of all the stuff that was taking place and begin to control my emotions again in those days. So part of my thought therapy was exercising and going to the gym. And that is why exercise is one of the keys to thought therapy, a new way of thinking, because you got to put yourself in a position to think new and to think differently. Even if you're not going to the gym to work out, even if you're not going to the gym to work out, go take a walk, go take a 30-minute walk. To help you with your thought therapy. Like I do that now, and I'm participating, in this 30-33 challenge that I'm doing. And so for 30 minutes, I go out and walk. And I feel great. I feel good, after, I walk. But I noticed that when I don't walk, for those 30 minutes, when I just decide not to walk, or sit on the couch or something like that and just choose to watch TV, I noticed that, some negative thinking and some negative, negative thinking will come about. And so now I know, and this is what I say. This is why I'm saying that, sometimes when interruptions come, guess what? You will learn some things about yourself. You will learn what can help you through certain moments, right? You will learn what can help you through certain moments. And that way you can just get up and do it, right? And so for me, I was learning through the interruption that, exercise or walking was very important, for my mental health. All right. Because we all, got to take care of our mental health. We got to, have some self-care, in there, so that we can, be the best version, of ourselves. And so I noticed that, when I would do these things, I noticed that, I was good. Like I felt like, on top of the world, nothing could shake me. Nothing can bother me. As a matter of fact, I was unbothered. I am unbothered when I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do to keep myself straight and to keep myself, in a position of, staying healthy, mind wise, body wise, and soul wise. Right. So, I would get out there, and just do what I need to do so that I can continue to have a peace of mind. And so that's why it's very important that when you recognize an interruption, when you recognize that an interruption has came into your life, you got to recognize that those interruptions are there for a purpose. Those interruptions are there for a reason. And those interruptions are there to help you, to become the best version of you, to become, fully, yourself, so you got to embrace those interruptions. You got to embrace the interruptions so that the interruptions can help build you up. The interruptions can help encourage you. The interruptions can help you get to where you are, to where you need to be. And so don't allow, the interruption to take you out. Don't allow the interruption to get you to a point where you say, you know what, I give up. I quit. No, don't allow that interruption to do that. Allow the interruption to do the work that is supposed to do in your life. And guess what? You're going to come out, a better person. You're going to come out, a whole person. You're going to come out knowing your why, knowing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You're just going to come out, squeaky clean. That's what I'm going to say. You're going to come out squeaky clean because you allowed the interruption to do the work. I'm reminded, about the story of Jesus. Jesus was interrupted. I can't help but marvel at how Jesus handled his interruptions. Take the story told in Matthew 14 when Jesus finds out that about John the Baptist who is beheaded, and Jesus is sad by the news, and he wants to be alone. So what does he do? He gets in the boat and starts on a journey to get some type of relief, some type of solace, because Jesus, he knew how to handle the interruptions in his life. Even though when he would go up amongst the large crowds to get, words of, to give them, words that they needed to hear, the parables and the sayings that he would say, when he would be amongst a large crowd and the people will make it to the other side in order to wait for him. Imagine Jesus as he nears the shore and catches a glimpse of thousands of people waiting to meet him. And most of us would be frustrated at the sight, but we probably decided it best to send away the crowds. When we have interruptions, we like really move away from the crowd. We don't even participate in the crowd. It's like the crowd is what it is. I ain't got time for that because I'm dealing with my own stuff, right? And so guess what? You will pull yourself back. Some people will just lay in the bed all day, all night, all day, all night, because they just don't want to deal with nobody. But here, not Jesus. No, Jesus still went to the crowd. He still went and ministered to the crowd, and maybe we stay in the boat and go somewhere else as well. But that's not Jesus' response. He's not afraid. He's not frustrated. And Matthew says he felt compassion for the people. Even in his interruption, Jesus still felt compassion for his people. He put others first. When he put others first. And when we are trying to be, becoming ourselves, or even in the midst of some type of interruption, we put people, we don't put people first, but we should put people first. I'm getting a little tongue tied. Put people first so we won't become frustrated in the interruption. And sometimes, even when that interruption comes, you gotta go out there and probably do some volunteer work, something that's going to help you with your thought therapy, continue to serve, continue to do things, where, but don't overdo it. Cause some people, they overdo it and then they lose themselves in serving, and then don't never deal with themselves. See, that's right there. That's what I want to talk about too, because, don't lose yourself serving others, right? Don't lose yourself serving others, even when you're going through an interruption. When life sends you an interruption, you still have to deal with you. You still have to deal with the internal you, the thing that is, making you the way that you are. You still have to do the work. You still have to work on you so that you can be fully whole, so that you can become, who God has created you to become. Because sometimes, and I've seen it, that people, when they have interruptions come in their life, they just kind of numb it. Like they kind of block the interruption and they become numb to the interruption. And they just go out there and they just serve. And then when they, get back, to their house or something like that, they'll just go straight to sleep, never ever dealing, with the interruption that has taken place, in their life, never, like working on the areas that they need to work on for themselves, to allow the interruption to do the work that the interruption needs to do. And so whenever you have an interruption, you have to be open to allowing that interruption to change you, right? To change your mindset. It has, you got to allow that interruption to help you to, as Romans 12:2 says, renew your mind. You got to allow it to help you to renew your mind, because, when you are going through that stage of life, there's lessons that has to be had. There's lessons that has to be learned, so that you can become fully you, so that you can become fully whole in the process. Now, I know it's not going to take, a snap, or it's not going to take a day for you to learn from the interruption. But then again, it depends on how big the interruption is, because some interruptions are just small interruptions that, you can handle within maybe a day or two. But some interruptions, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for you to really Embrace the interruption and allow the interruption to do the work that it needs to do on you. And that's just God doing work on you. That's just God saying, my daughter, my son, here's what I just want you to do. I just want you to focus on me. I just want you to look at me, for direction. I just want you to look at me and trust me that, this stage that you're in is not a stage that you're in forever. This too shall pass, but there are some things that you just need to work on, right? And so some interruptions are not obstacles to our pain. They are opportunities for us to embrace God's plan for our life. So what are you doing to allow the interruption to be an opportunity for you to embrace God's plan for your life? And if you are using it as an opportunity for you to embrace God's plan for your life, guess what? You're going to literally do the work that is needed so that God's plans that he has for you can prosper, right? So that God's plans that he has for you can you can soar and thrive, in those plans, because you did not allow the interruption to become an obstacle to your pain, but you allowed the interruption to become an opportunity for you to embrace God's plan for your life. As Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you. For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to give you hope in the future, and those are plans that are not going to harm you." So I paraphrase that, that are not going to harm you. So God's plans will never harm you. God's plan will never hurt you, but God's plan is giving you a hope and it's giving you a future. But you just got to allow that interruption that you are dealing with, or that you have in your life to become, a thing of opportunity for you to embrace God's plan for you. So what is it that God, is sharing with you for you to, move forward in the things that he has for you? What is God sharing with you that you need to do to become you? What is it that you're doing, and what kind of work? What is the work that you're going to do to work on you to become you, and to embrace God's plan that he has for your life? I'm telling you, this is really good, because we can't always look at interruptions as a setback. We cannot always look at interruptions as something that's coming to break us and tear us apart. Nope, it's coming to help us to build ourselves up, help us to become ourselves, fully ourselves, right? Fully ourselves. So yeah, we got to accept the interruption. We got to embrace the interruption, so that the interruption, can work for us, so that the interruption can, work for us in a way that's going to empower us, right? That's going to, fulfill us. That's going to give us, that's going to bring about a sense of fulfillment, that's going to, allow us, opportunities, to walk through doors, because we sat with ourselves, and we sat with that interruption, and we allowed the interruption to do its work. We allowed the interruption to do its work. And that's mainly because we allowed our thought therapy to move us, to lead us, to guide us in a way of new thinking, versus having the old thinking that we used to have. We're now moving in new ways of thinking, because those new ways of thinking is helping us to become a better us, to helping us to become who God literally has created us to be. So I'm excited. I was excited, as you can see, about this topic, because I really believe that, it spoke to me, and I believe it's going to speak to a whole lot of other people, but you just got to be able to embrace, what is being said, because guess what? You can get nuggets from, anyone, right? You can get nuggets from anything that you listen to or hear, so that, you can take it and, chew on it and allow it to minister, to you whereas though you're now applying it to your life. And so I believe that this is one that, when you look down at your interruptions, you will not look at your interruption as a problem. You will not look at your interruption as an enemy. You will not look at your interruption as something that's coming, to bring about pain and hurt and all. No, you're not even going to look at your interruptions like that. You're now going to start looking at your interruptions because of your thought therapy as now an opportunity to embrace, God's plan for your life and learn from what your interruption wants to share with you. I'm Dr. Diane Duckett, and thank you for listening to another episode of Becoming You.